Hey guys, Phil Baumhardt here. So for today's video, I'll be making a knife to try to donate to the Alexander McLaren Memorial Foundation. So this is a non-for-profit organization that raises money for charities trying to help the community, specifically kids. So this is a knife that would be auctioned off in an effort to raise money for a local children's hospital here in Michigan. So certainly a worthy cause. So the foundation is named after Alexander McLaren, who among many other things was a sergeant in the U.S. Army, served in World War II, landed on the beaches of Normandy, was a decorated veteran, and I'm actually friends with his grandson. He's the one that reached out to me and asked me to do a knife for this foundation because he's bought one of my knives, so I am honored to do this for them. And so the knife that I want to try to make is a Vietnam era SOG type knife. And so the piece of steel I got for that is a piece of 1095. It's pretty thin. I want this to be something that if somebody wins at the auction, they could actually use it for hunting or camping or something like that, and it's not a boat anchor. So with the SOG knives, they kind of have a long clip point, bit of a sway back, so I'll draw out the point for that. When I put in the edge bevel, that's when we'll get the classic buoy type clip point. It's something I've wanted to make for a long time. That's kind of why I decided to do it. But we'll also do a steel guard, steel pommel, stacked leather handle, so it should be a classy looking knife. So this is going to be the first knife that I make in the new shop, so I'm excited about that. So let's get this hot, see what I can make. Got that preform set up for the clip point, and I'm going to see if I can put in that kind of sway back without screwing anything up too bad. We'll see how it goes. Okay, so by setting this on the edge of the anvil, I was able to set up a choil, and I've got that second little sway back, much like the typical SOG knife. So I'll probably shorten this area up, and we're going to have to do a narrow tang to do that stacked leather handle, but I think we're in good shape. Alright, so now I'm just, putting in the edge bevels, thinning down the blade side, so you can already see we're starting to get that recurve point, so we're going to keep at it. I've cut down now from this point on is going to be the tank. So I'm just going to work on drawing that out. Alright, so I'm pretty much good with the final blade shape. I'll have to grind in the kind of final step downs for where the guard's going to go. Got a little thin up there. It's not exactly what I wanted, but I think it'll be serviceable. I'm just kind of going in now, doing kind of the finishing, planishing and straightening and stuff like that. Basically just going to put in a maker's mark when we get to go. Okay, so here's what the blade's looking like forged out. I'm actually pretty darn happy with how close I got it just by forging. I'll clean it all up on the grinder, and I drew in some grind lines. I'm going to do those not right now. I'll do that after I fit up the guard. Here's kind of I did a sketch of the cross section of the knife, so figured out, you know, where the handle could be in relation to the size tang I have. I'll do some grinding on it just to thin it down a little bit, but this is the type of guard I'm going for. So we'll clean up the profile a bit, and then I'll get going on the guard. And for that, I've got some 1/2 inch square stock. I might try doing this little taper shape on the forge. If not, I'll just grind it out. Not a big deal. But we're gonna chisel through this, get a nice good set on the shoulders. I'm going to have to clean up these quite a bit, but we'll be in good shape. Okay, so we just sort of put in a bit of a taper. So what I can do now is go over the horn and see if I can get, you know, that asymmetrical MACV-SOG type hilt out of it. Okay, so not too shabby. I'll obviously be able to refine it on the grinder, but that's cool that I'm able to, you know, forge it on the anvil. It's looking a little bit longer than I intended, but you know, that's okay. So we'll see if I can get the hold fast going. I do, well, you probably can't see it from camera, but I did get all the way through, so I'm going to work on this side now and try to open that up a little bit. Okay, well that first kind of attempt to forge out the end of the guard there is obviously too long. I'll cut that off. I think I'm going to call it good on forging on this. I kind of set up a little bit of a taper there, so you know, we'll just clean this up in the grinder. That'll be quite a bit easier to try to screw around with, as I don't quite have the right size tongs for this. So we'll just do a final check on the fit up. Go from there. Alright, so I think I'll do another hot fit of the guard because I got a little bit of a gap. I'd like to get that snug before I pull it down. Alright, I think we're good to go. And for the pommel, I've got this round bar that I found. We were shooting at a abandoned farmhouse. But anyways, this will be a good pommel piece, I think. It's a little bit smaller than what I have for the diagram. So what I'm going to try doing is upsetting the end so that the end of the pommel has a little bit of a flare. So we'll see how that goes. I've got the swage block now, so I'm going to try using that. So let's get this hot and see what happens. So I don't need the pommel to be perfectly round. Oval is a better shape because it's going to match the handle. So using the horn to kind of give it a swell in either direction. And it seems to be working out pretty good. Alright, there we go, all the way through. This is definitely some soft steel, which is good because it works out for this sort of thing. Okay, so here's what the knife is looking like with the pommel on there. I got that fit up. Pretty good fit. I'll have to figure out a way to, I don't know, peen it over or do a weld, something like that. But I'll get to that later. I'm going to go ahead and start grinding on this. With any of the SOG type knives like this, they're kind of false edge, and this is going to be unsharpened false edge. But it's going to start back here at the second point and go all the way up here, and then we'll do our primary bevel. I'm pretty, you know, the edge is pretty thin, and this is going to be sharpen. So I might start with a lighter grit, like a 120 bell, to do most of the grinding. I had a 150 grit Trizec belt that was I think 300 grit, and kind of got a lot of the scratches and stuff out. It's not perfect since the steel was so thin, probably a little too thin for the amount of grinding that I wanted to do on it. I lost a lot of material on the edges, so the knife is actually thinned down quite a bit. Our double swedges aren't quite as I think pronounced as they had been, but this is what we're looking like. So I wanted this to be kind of blued and kind of have that gloss blued finish, just like the original SOGs. But you can see we're super thin on the back as well as the edge. So I'm going to call it a day on grinding. It's definitely, kind of my Achilles heel of the knife making process. I'm not very good at grinding, so this is a tough one for me. But we'll get this quenched. I got some Parks 50. This is a 95 quencher in the Parks 50. See what it looks like. Down to center. Some advice. Alright, passed the file check, so we're good. Alrighty, well here's what the knife is looking like. Got the blade heat treated, did a kind of a polishing grind on the guard and the pommel using my work sharp. So we're ready to go ahead and start working on the stacked leather handle here. And what I think I'm going to try to do first is I'm going to try to solder this guard on rather than welding it, because welding, especially on like a thin tang, it can actually weaken the tang right here by the guard. This probably won't get any hard use, but I'd like to, make this knife as good as possible. And, I'm always trying to improve going forward, so if I can figure out a new technique to make my knives better, I'm going to do it. So we'll give that a shot, see how that goes. But yeah, just from, putting a little weld there, the weld makes that piece of steel real hard, and as we know, hard is brittle. So if you're using this knife, that can be a weak point. So we're going to see about doing some silver soldering on that, something I've never done before, or something I've never been able to successfully do before, but we're going to give it a shot now. Alright, seems to be on there solid. It doesn't have any wiggle anymore. Let's give it some light taps and see if it breaks loose. Oh yeah, broke loose. Damn it. Now I'm gonna clean up the blade and guard, and we'll get this blued. Alright, so we got the blade, guard, and pommel all blued up, so now I'm going to stack up some leather here and do the handle. And I've already got my leather cut out. These are just scraps from sheath making that I've saved up. I've got some black leather too. These will kind of be like the end pieces. So I'm just gonna punch a hole, thread them on, and glue them up. I'll be using barge cement because that's my leather glue. Alright, I hope I'm not getting ahead of myself, but while it's in this stage, I'm going to go ahead and try to weld the pommel on. Well, the handle's still in a rough shape, never have to worry about, less worry about welding splatter on the blade and all that, so we'll see what happens. Wish me luck. So that the work sharp belts actually did a really good job of polishing this up and kind of giving it that glassy, stacked leather look that we know and love. There's a couple of weird kind of spots that I don't know if it's glue that kind of melted and reconstituted on the edge of the leather. Doesn't look great. I did my best to try to get those out, but I don't think that's going to happen. So we're staining this with the leather stain, putting some linseed oil on here. And I think we're going to call it. Good. I have to re-blue some of the pommel and guard, but overall, she's shaping up pretty nicely. what the finished SOG knife is looking like. All in all, really happy with the way this guy turned out. Definitely kind of out of my normal wheelhouse to a certain extent. So this was a lot of fun. It's kind of my take on the classic SOG buoy, which the knives that were issued to the MACV-SOG guys were developed by somebody in the higher echelons of the U.S. military, and they were made in Japan. There's a couple different companies in Japan that made their original knives, and so the SOG company that we know today started off by making kind of commemorative knives, or knives that were inspired by those original knives. So this sort of design is not a SOG knife and tool original, as it were. So, but this was kind of cool because it's just got the, there's still sort of the forge marks, the fire scale, kind of the elements that you can tell that it was a hand-made knife are still in there, and then with that little bit better polish on the blade. It's not that same kind of blued mirror polish that the originals have, but in terms of my polishes, it's pretty good. And this guard, it was I'm actually fairly proud of this guard, being able to make this. Same with the pommel. This is something I could have just tried to do purely with stock removal, but I tried doing a little bit of forging, and it does kind of give it a little better shape. There's just something about it that makes it unique. So first time doing the stacked leather, fairly happy with the way it came out. There was still some little, I don't know if it was the glue or the leather burning or whatever it was. Just some of them just don't come out as clean as what you see come out of like the factory produced stacked leather handles. So that's certainly something I can improve on. But it kind of fits the overall knife. And while it's a brand new knife, it still kind of has like this kind of battle worn vibe to it, which is right on point with a lot of my work. But it's got a nice shape, so it's got a little bit of a taper there. Handle swells back out. Fits real comfortable in like a, especially with the way that the design of the guard is. It kind of works good in a saber grip, so your thumb goes up to here, your finger is in here, nice little place for that. But with the finger grooves, if it has got a nice solid fit in a hammer grip, which I think is good because this stacked leather is fairly slippery. It's not too bad though. Like it does have some grip to it even after it's been polished, because it is leather. But I did the finger grooves just sort of because I wanted to. It looks like the early SOG knives had finger grooves. They were pretty basic, like there was still flats in between here, so I kind of brought these to more points, more polished points, just because it was what I wanted to do. But not all the SOG knives had the finger grooves, and I think it would look good with just a straight handle, but on mine I wanted to do the finger grooves, so I did. Yeah, real thin, light knife. The balance point, let's see if I can find it, but there's the balance point right there, so right behind that first finger. One of my only knives that I've done that is that favors the handle side. Most of the time my knives have got a blade forward weight, which lends itself really well to chopping. So when I was doing the cutting test with this one, I found that when I'm trying to like power through like the pineapple or something, it would throw off my aim because the weight is in the handle. So the most effective cutting that this did, and the most precise cutting that this one did, is when I kind of had a lighter hand stroke. So with like a blade heavy knife, using a little bit extra strength kind of gets me that precision. But with this one, you really just need to move your arm. So much like a rapier that has a very, the weight is more towards the hand, the blade is going to move real fast, very effortlessly. So it was just sort of neat to kind of do those test cuts, which is why I do them. One, to kind of prove how sharp it is, but also just to test out edge geometry and handling. So yeah, with this kind of big unsharpened false edge, what I think it did is it sort of helped reduce the drag. So it's already a very thin knife. You can see the remaining material, or the initial kind of the original blade stock thickness right here, but here it's super thin. It almost got too thin, and I had to grind it back. What it does is it keeps the overall edge geometry fairly thin, much like a kitchen knife. It cuts down on drag because now the material has been kind of split to this point, and then this is an air gap, so it just passes effortlessly right through it. So yeah, cutting that pineapple and especially the pork, it just went through it like it was nothing. Like I was surprised how easily it was going through it. Well, yeah, so here's the sheath that I made for it. Went with the black leather, kind of just to harken back to the original design. I did my own style as far as setup. They usually had a snap that went over crossways across the guard, but I don't really like that style of the snap there. So this is a thumb snap that is meant to be worn on the right hand side, so you can grab it, pop it, and draw the knife. And then I did the belt loop attachment on a separate piece of leather because when I don't do that with the knives that I own, that I've made, that I carry around, and like from trying to put it in and out of the sheath while it's on your belt, these threads get cut from the inside. So this way the threads are protected from the knife, and it's, that's just my style. That's just how I do it. And then I did I looped the leather back over the snap here, so this wouldn't be digging into the handle and scratching that up. So for the auction itself, I decided to make a display stand. I'll get this in the frame. Just a simple little display stand, just some piece of pine, scrap pine. Put some molding on there just to give it a little extra panache, and I blacksmithed a quick little rest for the knife to go on. So it'll look good when it's on display for the auction, whatever that may look like. So someone can get this and then put this knife up for display in their office or on a bookshelf, or who knows. But it'll be perfectly functional, good for hunting, or probably be a good barbecue knife. Hopefully you guys enjoyed coming along for this ride. And if you want to keep up with my latest and greatest work, I'm Blackheart Forge on Facebook and Instagram. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel. And then if you want to buy your own custom knife or sheath, I've got the Etsy web store, also under the banner of Blackheart Forge. And there'll be links for all that in the description box. So that's all I got for you guys today. As always, I appreciate the support. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, be more Viking.